This is the Weekly Set, the official podcast of TVEnthusiast.com. Episode 88, recorded December 22nd, 2016. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Weekly Set, the official podcast of TVEnthusiast.com. I am your host and editor-in-chief of TV Enthusiast. My name is Tyson, and I am joined today by our keeper of comics here at TV Enthusiast, Will.
Hello.
So today we're going to be talking about Arrowverse. Specifically, we're going to be talking about the season finales of Supergirl, The Flash, Arrow, and Legends of Tomorrow. In addition to that, we're going to talk a little bit about what's coming up ahead in the podcast and, just general stuff like that at the end of the podcast. If you don't care about any of that, then once we're done with the shows, you can leave and we'll have no further content for you. Let's start with Supergirl. So the season finale, or the mid-season finale of Supergirl was titled Medusa. We already discussed this episode to some extent because 2 weeks ago we talked about the crossover episode for the Arrowverse, and that this is the episode that was the contributing part for Supergirl for the crossover, which of course was about 2 minutes of crossover material. So we're not even going to talk about the crossover stuff because it's like completely kind of intercut into the episode and completely unconnected to the regular plot of the episode. So we're just going to talk about that episode now, whereas 2 weeks ago we talked only about the crossover. So here's the description for the episode. It says, Eliza comes to town to celebrate Thanksgiving with her daughters. Alex decides it's time to come out to her mother. Kara is shocked when Eliza suggests Mon-El has feelings for her, and Wynn and James consider telling Kara the truth about the Guardian. Meanwhile, Candace unleashes a virus that instantly kills any alien in the vicinity, so Kara enlists an unexpected ally, Lena Luthor. So this was the episode in which it's kind of like the end game for Cadmus's plans. Cyborg Superman has used Kara's blood and gone to the Fortress of Solitude.
Yep.
And retrieved the Medusa virus.
Also, Cyborg Superman will not stop sounding silly to me. I'm Cyborg Superman.
And there isn't like a real context in it too. It's like, why is he calling himself Cyborg Superman?
Exactly. He just like calls himself that like out of nowhere. Yeah. There's no context at all. It's like, okay. He doesn't even have an S on his chest.
Wasn't Cyborg Superman in the comics like more of like a direct relation to Superman? Like it was like he looked like him and originally people thought it was Superman, and then it turned out, that it was a cyborg in disguise. And
yeah, he was actually, in the comic books, he was also Hank Henshaw. But yeah, he did look identical to Superman. And I think something happened that turned him into a cyborg at some point. And then after Superman died, he took on Superman's identity and pretended to be Superman back from the dead to further some evil plan that he was coming up with. That's pretty much what that was about. So yeah. So that's how Cyborg Superman happened.
There's like no context for that at all.
Yeah, this version of Hank Henshaw just decides to call himself Cyborg Superman because YOLO, I guess.
To me, this is like, it's one of those weird like naming convention problems where like, if you remember the show Heroes, how the characters kept referring to themselves as heroes when they weren't actually doing anything heroic. They just had power.
Yeah, exactly.
Having powers makes them heroes. It's like, not really.
I know. Yeah, that was one of the things that bugged me about Heroes was like they never actually did anything heroic, or there wasn't like any call to action except that always bugged me about that show. I was like, come on.
Like, there'd be like the the villains would be like people that distrust them. They'd be like, "You're one of those heroes." It's like that doesn't make any sense.
The villains were either people who didn't trust them because they had powers, or a psychopathic superpowered serial killer.
But they'd still use the same nomenclature of heroes.
Yeah,
people powers, even though they were against them or like afraid of them or whatever. It's like that doesn't make any sense.
That doesn't make any sense. Yeah, why don't you just call them? I don't know.
Howard. Or
you can't say mutant. Don't say mutant.
Only Fox can say mutant.
Only Fox can say mutant. Yeah. So yeah, it's a weird thing, and we are meandering again. But
back to Supergirl. So the virus got unleashed. Mon-El was in a bar when it happened, and he exited because he saw Hank Hemshaw, Cyborg Superman, as we were talking about, exiting the bar, thinking that it was Martian Manhunter, and then realizing it was him, getting in a fight with him. Because of that, it ended up basically saving his life, because he was out of the bar when the virus was released.
He was out of the bar when the virus was released. He goes back into the bar afterwards to see all the aliens dead, and that's why he takes in some of that virus, which does put his life in jeopardy. But since he wasn't there for the initial release, he didn't die from it almost instantly like everybody else. So there was a chance to save his life, which they do.
Because they need a romantic interest for Kara.
Exactly. Yeah. He still doesn't have any point on the show besides being like Kara's boyfriend. I don't know, they introduced this character, they need to write a story arc for him or something. He needs to have some kind of arc.
Yeah. Also in this episode, there was a lot with Lena Luthor where it seemed like she was kind of coming to verbal blows with Supergirl about her family and her mother in particular, running Cadmus and everything she was doing. It seemed like that they were getting a little split up in their what would be the female version of a bromance. Basically. A little speed bump in their way with having to deal with family, which is, always the case. And they set it up as if Lena is completely joining with Cadmus to help and eradicate, which would be like the weirdest jump in logic ever if that was the case.
Yeah, right. It would be. It'd be like,
how dare you say my mother's trying to kill all aliens? Just because of that, I'm gonna join her and kill all aliens.
Well, I guess, I guess that kind of works because it's kind of playing on audience expectations. She's a Luthor, so is she actually evil? Is she just being conniving when she pretends to be Kara's friend? Does she have a hidden agenda? I think they're subverting expectations because to say, it turns out she's not the bad guy, or she's not going to be the bad guy, or maybe she will be the bad guy. We don't know.
Well, she could use her, I guess I'll call it a sismance.
Yeah. A sismance?
And what would be the female version of a bromance?
True. I know Tumblr really wants this sismance to blossom into a full-on lesbian romance between Kara and Lena Luthor.
That's kind of always the case, though. I mean, they also want Sam and Dean's relationship in Supernatural to blossom into it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I like the CW Twitter, CW or the Supergirl Twitter actually ran a poll of who Kara should be shipped with, and Lena Luthor is winning that poll by double digits.
Next on the list is her sister, probably.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we're set up to believe that Lena is going against Kara or Supergirl, and, joining up with her mom, but that's all a clever ruse to disrupt, Cadmus's plans, and she does.
Yeah, and Cadmus doesn't get to kill every alien on the planet. Surprise!
Only a bunch.
It's funny because it looks like by the end of... See, this is an episode where by the end of it, Kara, the heroes fail. They fail. The rocket launches, and the only reason the villain's plan is foiled is because the one person that they counted on was not actually on their side. Yeah. So like if Lena Luthor was like sincere, they'd all be screwed.
So that's pretty much it. Following at the end of the episode, of course, that kicked off the crossover where she jumped through a portal with Barry and Cisco, but we're not going to talk about that because we already did.
Yeah, because we already did. And that was a thing. And now we're going to move on to, I guess, I'll let you decide. The Flash. Flash is a good one.
Let's do them in order of airing. So,
okay, sure.
Got The Flash. The episode is titled The Present. I'd say...
Nice Christmas-themed episode.
Yeah. At least this one. Another Christmas episode featuring Mark Hamill's character.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
This one without fuzzy science.
No, that was awesome though. That was totally awesome because they finally had the 90s Flash and I forgot the dude's name. But they finally had 90s Flash and Mark Hamill's Trickster battling each other as Nemesis again. And it was really cool to see that. I think that's something I think that's ever since they brought Mark Hamill onto the show and had him make these sporadic appearances, I think that's something like everybody wished to see. Yeah. And they totally delivered.
Plus Earth 3 Trickster is like a little bit more Joker-esque.
Yeah, I know. I noticed that they made him almost like a Joker clone on Earth 3 now. So they basically combined those two roles that Mark Hamill is famous for into one character. That was also awesome.
And when he pulled out the lightsaber, oh my god.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know, right? He pulled out the lightsaber. Now for my best trick. No, but that was great. Yeah, they can't actually have the Joker, so why not just make the Trickster the Joker? Good idea, CW.
They already got the actor, yeah.
Yeah.
So this episode involved Barry getting Jay Garrett. That's where this whole scene we were just talking about came from. He goes to Earth 3, grabs Jay Garrett, talks to him about Savitar, says, hey, can you help me take him out? Garrett agrees, goes back with them to Earth 1, and that's kind of the outline for the episode of what, that's the premise of what's going on there. They're going up against Savitar and
Dr.
Alchemy.
Yeah.
And Barry needs to have both of them doing it for it to work. So Jay Garrett goes along to be Savitar's punching bag. And he gets brutalized. So here's where I want to ask you, what do you think about Savitar and his appearance in the show?
I think somehow they did it. They managed to make a villain even more imposing than Zoom was at the beginning. Mm. I just hope there's no cheesy reveal halfway through that makes Savitar a less effective villain than what he is. Like his first appearance was not in this episode, but it was brutal. Like almost in the same way like the first time Zoom beat down Barry. It does seem like a little bit of retread of Zoom.
Yeah.
And a lot, yes, it is a total retread. Like, at least, what's funny though, at least in Barry's first encounter with Savitar, Barry didn't get temporarily paralyzed.
Yeah.
Because Zoom made sure to do that.
But what do you think, appearance-wise, with him being this, giant hulking, very CG, that's the thing that kind of weirds me. It's the motion, of Savitar that kind of throws me in the whole, the big CG kind of appearance. All that stuff kind of throws me, and I think I'd have more of an issue with it than I do if it wasn't for the kind of, mysticism connection with the Sorcerer's Stone.
Yeah,
he looks kind of feel okay, it should feel a little bit unnatural. And
well, he's supposedly a god, right? He's supposedly the first speedster ever, and he's gotten so fast, but he looks like a robot from the future.
Yeah, he looks like a CG character from Reboot or something.
It looks like from Transformers, you know? It's like I don't,
those CG Transformer cartoons, like the Dino Wars ones and stuff.
I don't know if his appearance matches the lore that they established around him already, you know? It's like,
it's weird.
Yeah. It's bizarre. It wasn't what I was expecting, that's for sure. Especially if you look up like Savitar in the comic books, he does not look like
not at all.
A freaking he looks like a person.
And this one he's like this massive, like 9 foot tall hulking beast. It's just very strange. Like and like I said, like I think I would have a lot more of a problem with it.
I think
if they didn't tie it all to the Sorcerer's Stone and make it seem like it's kind of mystical in some way. I think that makes it somewhat okay.
Like they pointed out, pretty quickly that Savitar is the Hindu god of motion. And you know, they have Savitar literally calling himself a god, referring to himself as a god. He claims to rule the Speed Force, you know, and like his first encounter with Barry is he tells Barry that Barry merely serves the Speed Force, but he rules it, which, you know, is a specious claim. We don't know how true that claim is. You know, we just know that he is the baddest of the bad speedsters, apparently. And I think most of his appearance has to do with like them trying to come up with something more intimidating than even Zoom was last season, you know?
I think what's interesting is the way they tied it to the Philosopher's Stone. Like they closed the Philosopher's Stone into this box and he just straight up disappears.
Yeah, he seems to be, he's super connected to that stone. Like that box needs to be open for him to be able to. Another thing about Savitar is he's invisible to everybody except other speedsters.
Mm-hmm.
So like even Zoom couldn't make himself completely invisible, but Savitar can at all times.
I feel like maybe he's some manifestation of the Speed Force or something.
Yeah, because only speedsters can see him.
Yeah, there's got to be some kind of a weird thing going on with that. But basically, we got to see 3 Flashes in this episode because we had Jay Garrett, Barry Allen, and Wally West.
Yep.
All facing off against Savitar and Alchemy. Jay Garrett was a punching bag for Savitar. Barry ended up defeating Alchemy, closing the box, which made Savitar disappear, and then unveiling that it was Julian all along as Alchemy.
Julian was Alchemy, although Julian doesn't remember or isn't aware that he is Alchemy, which was a twist.
He blacks out.
Yeah, he blacks out. It turns out Julian found the Philosopher's Stone before he became I can't think of the name of the city now. I almost said Starling City.
Central City, isn't it?
Yeah, Central City. Before he came to Central City, and so that's how he became Dr. Alchemy. And actually, he's the only reason Dr. Alchemy exists is because Savitar needs to influence people to open the box to release the stone so that Savitar can be free. And that's basically the function and role of people like Dr. Alchemy. You know, also there's something going on with restoring the powers of people in Flashpoint. Don't really know what that's about. That hasn't really been explained why they're doing that or what the end game with that is. They explain that Savitar has some beef with Barry because of Barry sealing him away in the future. For whatever reason. We don't know how that comes to be or why that is. But Savitar, because of, again, this recalls Reverse Flash now, because Savitar has a beef with Barry because of what future Barry does to him. But that doesn't seem to be related to giving people from Flashpoint powers, so I don't know what the connection there is.
Or just the connection that, you know, a speedster has this kind of, like, is almost one and the same with Alchemy. It's just weird. It's a weird connection that we still don't fully understand yet.
I understand as much that Dr. Alchemy exists because Savitar is locked up in that stone and he needs people to release him so that he can exist. exist outside of that stone. And it seems like, influencing people to be your followers like that is a good way to basically it's a good way for him to basically keep himself free. Like he does the exact same thing to Cisco, in this episode. Once they have captured Dr. Alchemy and they seal away Savitar influences Cisco and gets Cisco to open the stone.
Yeah, he shows up to Cisco in the form of his brother Dante.
Yeah.
And basically convinces Cisco to open up the box. That eventually gets closed again by Cisco. He's persuaded by Catelyn to close the box again. But in the time that happens, they realize that the kind of manipulations he can do, they kind of get a better idea of what's happening with Julian, with alchemy. They end up talking to Julian, and they figure out that they can use Vibe's ability with Julian to talk to Savitar safely without unleashing him.
Right.
And in doing so, Savitar kind of gives a prophecy of sorts. That's when he tells that he's imprisoned in the future by Barry. But he also says that in the future, one of his teammates will betray him, one will die, one will suffer a fate worse than death.
Yes.
So, time to place your bets. Who's gonna die? Who's gonna suffer a fate worse than death?
well, from now, it would seem like the teammate who's gonna betray them is gonna be Catelyn, because she is Killer Frost, and she's already done that this season.
Or maybe she'll suffer a fate worse than death, because because they've kind of implied, even before she started turning, that Killer Frost is not a really happy existence.
No, yeah, they've implied that that's not a happy existence. Barry ends up in the future, and he witnesses Savitar killing Iris.
Well, first we should say that how that happened was that Barry and Jay decided to throw the box into the Speed
that's
Force.
Right, because once they had Savitar in prison, they were trying to decide what to do with the box containing Savitar. And after much deliberation, they decided the best thing they could do to make sure Savitar didn't escape was to throw it into the Speed Force, which is like basically throwing it into the void of eternity, of which there is no return. And
after that happens, Barry basically gets blasted into the future.
Yes.
And that's where he sees,
That's where he witnesses. And the thing about Barry is, how can that future be when they've essentially gotten rid of Savitar? They threw him into the void of time, It's like, how could he come back and kill Iris?
I'm sensing some timey-wimey shenanigans.
Yeah, exactly, right? So, yeah, we don't know. Barry is naturally upset, but Jay reminds him that that's only a possible future, and it's not something that's definitely 100% for sure going to happen.
And that he shouldn't take direct actions against it, because in doing so, he could cause it to happen. And
right, exactly.
And that's why speedsters don't go to the future.
That's why speedsters, because that future could occur because Barry saw that future and tried to take preventive steps to prevent it, and it doesn't work out. And also Savitar's not stupid.
So Savitar kills Iris in this vision. He has Barry is now determined to try to protect Iris. They go back to the West family Christmas party. They give Wally a Kid Flash costume. HR is now, Harrison Wells is their Earth 19 or whatever. Harrison Wells. HR is finally looks like he might be getting back in everyone's good graces. Julian gives Barry his job back, and because he was invited to the party as well, because they don't blame him, because he doesn't even remember what was happening during this. He was blacked out. And the episode kind of ends with Barry revealing to Iris the new apartment he bought for the two of them.
Yes. Barry moving in hard on that relationship after, seeing her die.
Yeah.
It's like, oh shit, gotta move fast.
Gotta get some before the getting's bad.
Yeah, right, exactly.
That's pretty much the Flash.
That's pretty much the Flash, yeah. So good episode.
Yeah, I'd probably say it was the second best of this week's.
The second best. The next episode is the surprise best of the week.
Very surprised, yeah.
Yeah, very surprised. I was like, holy shit, where'd this show?
How did this happen?
Yeah, but yeah,
I just want to say it's funny because I've been watching, they have Arrow reruns on like TNT now.
Yeah.
And occasionally I'll be watching and I'm like, oh, Arrow's on, and I glance over and look, I'm like, oh, it's like a season 2 episode. And I'm watching and I'm like, God, I miss this Arrow so much.
Yes, I miss this Arrow. This is God tier Arrow.
Yeah. So this episode of Arrow is titled What We Leave Behind. And this is all about Prometheus and who he really is and what's going on. Got a lot of developments, just constant stuff happening in this episode. It kind of kicks off with Curtis being hospitalized, Mr. Terrific.
Oh yeah, Prometheus attacks him right off the bat.
Yeah.
Because Prometheus knows who everybody is now because of his stupid traitor Artemis. I never liked her face. She was stupid.
Who has the most ridiculous reason for being on his side?
This is basically her logic. Her logic is, oh my God, Oliver was a serial killer. I can't fight for Oliver anymore, so I am going to join forces with a serial killer.
Yeah, Oliver was a serial killer, so now I must join forces with a current serial killer.
Yeah.
Whose targets are my old friends.
Yeah. I mean, that's some great logic. I don't
So Curtis is hospitalized. Also, basically this is revealing to his husband who he is. That happens kind of through the course of the episode. He ends up having to reveal that he works with the Arrow, and he's given an ultimatum. You know, you can either be a vigilante or you can be my husband, and we'll get back to that later. But yeah, so that's kind of how the episode starts. Then we find out, or the team finds out about Artemis's betrayal. They finally corner Prometheus. They have him good and cornered. Wild Dog shoots Prometheus's bow away from him. They got him completely covered. Now Artemis comes in and betrays them.
Yep, Artemis says surprise, and I was like, oh, well, I hated your character ever since your character first was introduced. So I mean, literally the episode after Laurel dies, and this chick shows up thinking she's the Black Canary. Please, awful. So yeah, I never liked her from day one, so I wasn't particularly surprised that she's an idiot. But man, this was such a good episode, though. Because so Prometheus is seriously the best villain since Deathstroke to me on the show. Because
and you were pretty doubtful about him at first too.
I was. I totally was skeptical because I didn't know how they were going to play him. It's the way that they were doing Arrow the past 2 seasons, it just wasn't that good. I didn't think they would get back on that level. But they have. It seems like they really taken the feedback from last season to heart this season, because they dialed back Olicity to it's not a thing anymore. They really dialed back on Olicity. They made Felicity more like how she was in season 2 than how she was in season 3 or season 4, which has really helped.
They brought Brutal back.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yeah. The worst thing, Prometheus, a lot of this level is they're just trying to figure out, one of the big things about this level, one of the big thing about this episode is that they're not doing the standard flashbacks that they've been doing all season in this episode. They're actually flashing back to, an episode from season 1. Or I think it was an episode. I remember it being an episode.
No, it actually didn't happen. It happened between the events of 2 other things. I only know that because I read something about it.
Oh, okay.
That's how good they captured the season 1 Arrow. Is that it's like you remember that being something that happened in season 1, but it never actually did.
Oh, Oh, okay. Yeah.
So it's like we got a new season 1 episode in some ways.
Yeah. So they flash back to season 1 Arrow, and the way the hood, and the way they tie it into current events is just great, in my opinion.
This should have been Arrow's 100th episode instead of last week.
Yeah, this really should have been Arrow's 100th episode, because this was great. This tied in better to season 1 than that episode did.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's great. It's crazy to me. And that we learned that, yeah, like, Oliver flat out murdered some scummy businessman. I can't totally disagree with, like, his reasoning. This guy was literally going to murder a bunch of people just to sell drugs.
And he did give him a chance.
And he did give him a chance. Yeah, he did give him a chance to, like, get his shit together. And he didn't. And so Oliver killed him. But that's bad. So it makes Oliver a serial killer. So, yeah. But then we find out that Prometheus might actually be this guy's son and is trying to get revenge for his death. I don't know if that's actually where they're gonna go, or there's a lot of theories about who Prometheus actually is. Some theories are suggesting it's Tommy.
Yeah, those are some old theories. They went back quite a ways, but it seems that they're kind of going against that just because, like, Tommy wasn't even able to show up for the 100th episode.
Right, yeah, I noticed his absence in that episode was kind of pretty obvious. It's like, oh, hey, everything's fixed to where the Queen's Gambit never drowned and everybody's okay. Wait, where's Tommy? Oh, I don't know. I guess he, like, died of some accident from, like...
They said where he was. I can't remember what it was, but he moved away. He was in some other town.
Yeah.
It was like an offhanded comment.
Yeah, I guess in the event that Oliver Queen doesn't get stranded on an island for 5 years, Tommy just randomly decides to move away.
Yeah.
Whereas missing Oliver Queen, nope, Tommy decides to stay.
So, Prometheus basically sets this huge trap. It's like a big tableau, this giant building set up, basically where Arrow had hunted down and killed this person in the flashback, and basically set it up exactly the same way, with more bodies dropped in the exact same places where Oliver had dropped bodies when he had raided it before. And Oliver gets there. He's trying to rescue Billy, Felicity's new beau, who had been taken captive. That's the whole reason he's hunting him there. And Prometheus kind of pops out at him and is running at him, and Oliver shoots a bunch of arrows in his chest. Turns out that was actually Billy wearing a Prometheus costume.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Prometheus completely plays Oliver, and it really drives the point home because in this season we see Oliver kind of relaxing on his no-kill policy.
Mm-hmm.
Like the season literally starts with him, like, killing some random goons, after having killed Damien Dark, and so Oliver figures he's gonna kill Prometheus once and for all, and Prometheus turns that against him in probably the most insidious way he can, by tricking Oliver into killing somebody completely innocent instead. Yeah. And also who happens to be Felicity's boyfriend, which I really like. The most mature thing Felicity ever done in this episode was not immediately blame Oliver and make him out to be Satan because he accidentally...
Well, that's it. I'm joining Prometheus too.
Oh, yeah. It's like, I really thought that was going to be her first reaction. Like, literally, she had a more measured reaction to this than she had learning Oliver had a kid.
Yeah.
like her reaction to Oliver having a son literally got everybody killed. And her reaction to this is like, well, damn, shit happens, I guess.
So Oliver is kind of a little crushed. He was tricked into killing Billy. And then we start to see Prometheus has all these other plans kind of coming into effect right around the same time. So because of what he did with Curtis in front of Curtis's husband is now leaving Curtis. At first he'd given him an ultimatum.
So basically what Prometheus wants to do is he wants to alienate everybody from Oliver before he presumably tortures and kills Oliver himself. That's what he's trying to do. So he's trying to prove a point that every life Oliver touches is turned to ash. And he's trying to turn everybody against Oliver by intentionally, like, making it like Oliver's fucking up their lives. Or trying to,
So he, Curtis's husband leaves him, and then we see Diggle gets a call from his wife saying that there's something wrong with their son, their Flashpoint son.
Yeah, their Flashpoint son.
So he rushes over there, and it's a trap, and the people that, basically the army group that he was with basically recapture him.
Yeah.
And, Mad Dog gets neutered.
Mad Dog.
Ragman gets moldy.
I'm liking these. Continue.
Felicity's mom comes back to town.
Yeah. Oliver's arrow grows limp.
Yeah. Everything's just going wrong,
Everything's just going wrong.
But then Oliver, in his dejected state, returns to the Arrow Cave, and surprise, surprise, Laurel Lance.
Yes, in like the most shocking moment of any Arrowverse show this season, the most shocking season finale or mid-season finale moment is Laurel Lance just randomly in the Arrow cage. No context, no explanation of how that happens, and no Flashpoint doesn't explain it. Sorry. Because Flashpoint happened and they were still carrying on like Laurel died.
Yeah.
So they can't just say Flashpoint. So there needs
something
to be
happen that has to be addressed when the show comes back.
Yes, exactly. Which is funny because like Laurel comes back at the end of the episode, but earlier in the episode, Felicity says people come back from the dead every Wednesday.
Yeah.
Which is also the day the show airs.
Yeah.
So nice meta joke, and also like that line was purposely there to set you up for the end of the episode. I really like that touch. It's a minor touch, but I really
Felicity's
like that.
trying to
work.
become the Abed of Arrow.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. The Abed of Arrow. I'm happy Laurel's back. Again, it just really feels like they're listening to the feedback and they're trying to fix the mistakes that they made, especially in last season. Which is good. I'm glad. This was the most I've enjoyed Arrow since season 2. Yeah.
Early season 3. Early season 3, there were still a few good points.
There were still a few, yeah, you're right. Season.
The episode, the season 3 mid-season finale was actually really good, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I really loved that. That was like pretty freaking surprising. And then after, when it came back from that, then it turned into a huge joke. Yeah, with like
just
freaking
turned to feces. Just
Ross
right away.
Al Ghul dressing up as Oliver and like shooting people. That was like the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah. So we'll have to see if Arrow continues down this path of improvement, or if it slips back into the failures of its last 2 seasons. We'll have to see what happens.
Hopefully it's not downhill from from like when it comes back like season 3 was.
The mid-season premiere begins with Felicity saying, "Scratch that! I blame you, Oliver. I'm joining Prometheus."
Yeah, right. I'm joining Prometheus, and then we have and then we ship Prometheus and Felicity.
That's how they'll defeat Prometheus, with Felicity's incessant nagging.
Yeah, exactly. Why didn't you tell me you had a son, Prometheus?
Oh, jeez, leave me alone.
Yeah.
I'm going back to being Worf on Star Trek.
Yeah.
Alright, so now we're going to talk about the last show, Legends of Tomorrow. This episode is called The Chicago Way. It's basically Legends of Tomorrow's play on the Untouchables. It's something kind of almost every show with time travel eventually has an episode that goes back to 1920s Chicago.
Of course. It's such an iconic era and place that you can't not do it, right? So this was a fun episode. Again, there's no surprises here, unless you genuinely thought Malcolm Merlyn being part of this season of Legends was a surprise. If you didn't know he was going to show up. Surprise! But
man, he's like the bitch of the organization, though. Isn't
he is. He really is. It's like because he's like the Diet Coke of evil. Just 1 calorie, not evil enough.
He's just Eobard Thawne and Damien Dark are like just not giving him giving him any respect, which is funny if you look back and think about the characters. Like Malcolm Merlin's like the only one that actually achieved his goal.
Yeah, pretty much. Malcolm Merlin, everything that happened in Arrow, you could pretty much trace back to Malcolm Merlin, because he blew up the Queen's Gambit, which led to Oliver being on the island, which led to all the bad blood between him and Deathstroke, which led to Deathstroke coming back to Star City and trying to destroy it. And also somehow, I forgot the connection, but yeah, Malcolm Merlin was also responsible for the League of Assassins coming to Star City. And
because they were hunting him.
Yeah, they were hunting him because he escaped, which led to Ra's al Ghul. So much shit just because of Malcolm Merlin.
And Malcolm Merlin set up Thea to kill Sarah, which is why Oliver had to fight against Ra's. It all goes back to Malcolm Merlin. And like I said, of all of these characters, he's the only one that actually accomplished his plan.
Yes.
he destroyed the city, he actually did it.
No, he didn't destroy it. His plan was to destroy the Glades, which was like...
Yeah, and he did.
And he did.
No, none of the other villains accomplished their goals. He did.
Yeah, exactly. So
things didn't go well for him after that, but he still destroyed the Glades.
Yeah. And also, if I remember correctly, Oliver attempted to kill him, or thought he did, and then he came back from that. So I don't think they ever really explained how he came back from that, but
they just said he faked his death, I think.
I think they just say he faked his death, because he just shows up at the end of season 2.
They just said League of Assassins and then went, ooh.
Yeah.
You're sufficiently distracted now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There's not much to talk about in this episode, I think. Like, there's kind of, I think, 2 big points that happen, but for the most part, it's just not that great of an episode compared to the other ones.
The fun of the episode is seeing all the villains you finally see all the villains teamed up and working as a team in this episode, and also being like a major part of the episode. Mm-hmm. Whereas before they were mostly in the background. I know Damien Dark had a major episode where he was an advisor to Reagan, but that was more, that was more Damien Dark, and Reverse Flash was in the background, and Malcolm Merlin wasn't even in the show. Even
Leonard Snart was in this episode. Yeah, he's like the last member of the Legion.
Well, it's weird because is he in Rory's head? Like, is he not a thing? Because I was gonna say he could be there, but then at the end when Rory's talking to him, Vixen walks in and she says, "Who are you talking to?" And I know Captain Cold's not a speedster, so
it's Savitar.
It's Savitar. Yeah, so he seems to be like maybe a ghost at worst. I don't know what's going on there. Again, it's like Laurel. He just appears and they don't explain it.
Well, they made a little red herring because they opened up the possibility that it could have been Eobard Thawne taunting him.
That's true.
Because they showed that Eobard imitating
Dr. Stein.
Yeah, Dr. Stein, and we had that whole scene where he found out about that. So it's like, oh, okay, so he could be imitating, and he can time travel, so he could be imitating Captain Cold, but then they kind of immediately went against that, unless it's like a time remnant of Eobard Thawne, unless we're back to that crap. Because Eobard kind of leaves, and we still see that.
Yeah,
we still see another.
I don't think it's Eobard Thawne. I don't think they're gonna do that, but we don't know what it is really. And maybe it is just a voice in Rory's head. Maybe it's Vixen refers to the animal earlier, and maybe that's a manifestation of Rory's animal.
So the other two big things that happen in this episode. So first off, we find out what the Legion of Doom's been hunting for.
Yeah.
They finally put together their compass, and we found out that the compass is leading them to the Spear of Destiny, which Eobard Thawne wants to use to change fate. So he's a time traveler, so he can change time, but things end up going wrong and problems occur because of it. This apparently will allow him to make time a little bit more timey-wimey and get around that somehow.
Right.
Because plot. So this is apparently the Deus Ex Machina he needs to survive and get out of his current predicament of eventually being written out of existence by Barry. So
they explain the spear is the spear used to pierce the side of Christ during the crucifixion.
Mm-hmm.
And now it has the power to alter reality, I guess because of that.
Because plot.
Yeah, because plot.
And then lastly, we find out that the Legion of Doom needs to find Rip Hunter. He's like the last piece of the puzzle they need. And it's like, but where is Rip Hunter? Cut to 1967 Hollywood, and there's an American film director. And guess who it is? It's Rip Hunter.
Making a movie about himself.
Yeah. So strange.
Yeah, I know.
But that's pretty much Legends of Tomorrow. Is anything else to say about it?
No, it was a fun episode. Legends of Tomorrow doesn't have the big impactful moments or beats that the other shows have. Mm-hmm. But this has been a better season so far than last season. Just because
the lack of Hot Girl and Hawkman alone, I think.
Yeah, the lack of Hot Girl and Hawkman alone. I think it's just embracing. I think it's starting to embrace what it is, and we're just getting like all this fun stuff. Like we are going to, we're doing more time travel stuff now. We are going to Chicago. We are going to the Old West. We are going to, the White House in the 80s. Like we're doing this. Also it's more fun because instead of like instead of just the one singular villain we had the whole time, now we got a team of villains made up of characters that we know and recognize from the other Arrowverse shows, and it's fun to see them interact, for the first time. And I mean, one of the things we love about this universe are these crossovers and team ups, and so that's kind of like that. So I'm enjoying it. It's not like there wasn't like any sort of holy shit moment. I think the holy shit moment was learning Rip Hunter. Like earlier I was just thinking like about Rip Hunter. Actually, I was thinking about if they were going to bring him back, when they were going to bring him back, how long he was not going to be a part of the show. It turned out it didn't take long for them to bring him back. But
well, they went like half a season, so
yeah, they went half a season. So yeah, not too bad, I guess.
So that brings us to an end of our show discussion. The last thing I want to talk about before we end out the podcast is that this is the last episode of the podcast for 2016. We will be taking
adios 2016. Bye-bye.
We will be taking next week off, and the following week, which is, let me see here, the 5th.
I think
we'll be recording on the 5th. We're going to be doing
best of 2016.
Yes, we're going to be talking about our picks for the best of 2016, what shows we think came out on top, what were the best new things, what were the best scenes, the best moments, the best performers, all that kind of stuff. That's what we're going to be talking about in the next podcast, which we'll be recording on January 5th. That's pretty much it. So see you everybody in 2017. Thank you everybody for listening. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Tyson Gifford. You can follow Will on Twitter. He's at Voxel Hero. Check out our Facebook page and our YouTube channel, as well as our site, TVEnthusiast.com. You can subscribe to the podcast through any major podcast client like iTunes or Pocket Cast. And the entire backlog of our podcast is available on our YouTube channel. Thank you everybody for listening. Good night.
Good night.
If you would like to voice your opinion, send an email to theweeklyset@TVEnthusiast.com. TV Enthusiast is a part of the Enthusiast Media Network. Stay tuned to TV Enthusiast and the Weekly Set podcast for more coverage